All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa, another quarterback. We've talked about Burrow, we talked about Jared Goff, and we talked about the 49ers. I mentioned Brock Purdy in the Brandon Ayuk segment. But now we're going to talk about Tua. So the first thing I wanted to touch upon is what Christian Wilkins had to say. Now, Christian Wilkins is now with the Raiders, was previously with the Dolphins, but he had some things to say about Tua and Tua's growth as a player. So I wanted to just talk about some of the things he had to say. So this is what he said. I really had a front row seat to Tua and his growth and his development as a player and just as a teammate, a leader, all that. And this is what he said on Eric Armstead's podcast, Third and Long podcast. It's been cool to watch. I feel like in a way we kind of had similar stories. He went through his stuff, had his struggles early, but now Pro Bowl, MVP finalist and all that. I don't care what system, what scheme or anything like that, you're still playing. So definitely shout out to him, just the things he's been able to do and accomplish. It was just cool to have a front row seat to watching his development as a player. And you know what? Listen, Tua did have a good season, and the Dolphin season kind of ended with a thud, though. They got off to a roaring start. They were 3-0, and they looked like, people were comparing them to the greatest show on turf. They dropped 70 points on the Broncos. Things were looking good. And then reality set in against the Bills when the Bills dropped 40 against them. They still ended up having, a winning record and making the playoffs, but, they could have had the 2 seed. They lost that. They couldn't. The only team they beat with the winning record was the Cowboys, who just weren't a good road team. And then they ended up playing the Chiefs in the playoffs in that freezing weather, and they ended up losing that. And, yeah. So Tua ended up finishing the year 4,600 yards passing, 29 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. The 14 interceptions is a little high, but did finish with a rating of 101.1. So, yeah, that was his best season. The previous season he had 25 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. So you'd like to see the interceptions be down a little bit. But still, you could look at this 2023 season as Tua's best season. And, Christian Wilkins was, talked highly of Tua. And, he dismissed the fact that, it has a lot to do with the system, which not a lot of people are going to dismiss that. Because to be honest, you look at how Tua played without Tyreek Hill, and you go back to that Titans game, and when Tyreek Hill got hurt, Tua did not play well. And they got a big decision to make with Tua, because, he's going to be looking for a new contract. And are the Dolphins going to give him that contract? Which they might. I know I have a coworker that's a Dolphins fan, and he is dreading that because he just doesn't believe that Tua's the guy. But this comes with Tua confirming that he will not hold out for a contract extension, and he will attend OTAs this spring. He's entering the final year of his 4-year deal. He's going to be making a little over $30 million in 2024 if an extension isn't reached beforehand. Despite not receiving a contract extension yet, the Dolphins are reportedly dedicated to signing Tua to a long-term deal, as reported by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Tua, obviously, coming off the season with 4,600 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions, leading the Dolphins to an 11-6 finish and earning his first Pro Bowl selection. And I think the other thing, too, and I was happy about this as well as many people were, and I think I said this on a previous show, is the fact that he was healthy the whole season. The previous season, I think a lot of people, including me, had concerns that his career could be in jeopardy after all the concussions and how the Dolphins handled those situations. But he was healthy. And myself and many others very happy about that. And I hope for that to continue in 2024. But is Tua the guy long term? And it's tough. Because, again, I think he's solid. He puts up solid numbers with the Dolphins. But Is he an elite quarterback? Is he someone that you'd want against a Patrick Mahomes, against a Josh Allen, against a Lamar Jackson, against a Joe Burrow? Now, he has beaten Lamar Jackson. He has beaten Josh Allen. But that's in the regular season. What about in the playoffs? Play Patrick Mahomes. Now, I just think the Dolphins, they had no chance. They just had no chance in that weather. The Chiefs, they were going to win that game regardless. I mean, listen, like I said, did beat Lamar Jackson. I mean, the Dolphins, they were down, 35-7, right? 28-7, and they came back and won that game. That was in week 2 of 2022. You know, I mean, that was impressive. But again, people point to the Ravens' defense not being at full strength. Look at what the Ravens were at full strength against the Dolphins last year. They destroyed them. And the Dolphins, they got swept by the Bills. Had a chance to get the number 2 seed at home, and they lost it. So, and that's what led to them having to play that playoff game in Kansas City. So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, again, it seems like they're dedicated. Like I said, they want to sign him to a contract, but I don't know. I don't think he is the long-term answer. Again, I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's another one of those guys that I know Christian Wilkins said it's not about the system. Well, I kind of think it is about the system because you got track stars all over the place. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, running backs with Achane and Raheem Mostert. But again, you want to surround your quarterback with talent. Like, I know people knock some guy, like, including Brock Purdy, like, oh, he's got his, Avengers squad. Yeah, but, like, what do you want them to, what do you want him to be surrounded by? Nothing? Like, yeah, not everybody's Patrick Mahomes. Not everybody could take what he had with his receivers and Travis Kelce, who was injured most of the year, and get to the Super Bowl and win it. Not everybody's him. So, yeah, there's some guys that, yeah, you got to surround them with talent to put them in good situations. And Tua is one of those guys. Because, again, without Tyreek Hill, he's definitely a different quarterback. But what do you want? You don't want him to have Tyreek Hill? The Dolphins were able to get him. And, yeah, Tyreek Hill does elevate Tua. It's not the other way around. Tyreek Hill elevates Tua. We know that. But, I mean, what do you not want? You want teams to sit on their hands and just not do anything and just say, all right, well, go prove to us that you could do it without elite talent around you. Now, again, some people can do that, but not him. I don't think Tua is that guy. But I think this is a big year for him. I keep saying that for a lot of people, but this is a big year for him too, because if you go out there, you go 11-6. Make the playoffs, and then you're 1 and done. I mean, what have you accomplished? You're gonna pay him that contract? I mean, I don't know when they're gonna decide to do that. Are they gonna wait till after 2024 to do that? Like, what's that? I'm not 100% sure about. But would the Dolphins be making a mistake? Yeah. I think they would be. And again, I mean, I don't know how much time you have with some of the guys, because Tyreek Hill apparently was talking about retirement. So he might not be around for that much longer. So we'll see. I mean, listen, I expect the Dolphins to be a team that's, in the playoff race, a team that's going to be, competing for that NFC or that AFC East. Probably end up being either they win the division or they get in as a wild card because they have too much talent. And, they've made the playoffs the first 2 years with Mike McDaniel as the head coach. I expect that to continue. But, Yeah, sorry, I got like a random phone call from a random number. It was probably a spam again, like always. Um, yeah, no, I like never answer my phone unless I know who it is. But well, and also I'm doing a live show right now. I'm not gonna answer the call live on stream, but yeah, that's why I was looking down. But back to this though. Dolphins got to prove some doubters wrong in 2024, and Tua's got to continue to do that. But I don't necessarily agree with what Christian Wilkins has to say because I think it does have a lot to do with the system. Now, I mean, what do you? He was a former teammate of him. What do you want him to say? Oh yeah, Tua stinks. Played with them. Now again, does that? I think there's been some improvement with Tua. You'd have to say. But again, a lot of that has to do with the system. And 2024 is going to be a big year. Because again, if Tua goes out there and doesn't have a good year, well, then the Dolphins got to maybe reconsider some things. So, we'll see what happens. But, I expect them to be a good team. And, it's fun to watch that offense, because they do a lot. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to tune into all the other shows throughout the day to get some perspectives on other sports. We got the basketball. We got basketball. NBA playoffs are going to be starting soon. Regular season just ended yesterday, so all the not all the playoff matchups because we got to get to the play-in, and then once the play-in's done, then we'll have all the matchups finalized. But make sure to tune in to the basketball podcast for all that. You also got we also have the WNBA draft. I think that's tonight. So there's that. Baseball in full swing. Yankees are playing great. Although yesterday was a tough loss, that angered me, but it's okay. It's one game. Not gonna freak out. I'm gonna try not to freak out because there's a lot of people that freak out with them, even with just one loss. But that's another thing, another topic. But yeah, make sure to tune into all the other shows. And yeah, so with that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.